Hello, everybody, and welcome to the United Stand. It's a 2 p.m. show, and we've got a lot of news to bring you this afternoon, and a lot of stuff happening around Manchester United. We've got news around Jong coming, fee agreed, potentially, because different journalists are coming out, and the fee seems to be around the same. And we've got really credible outlets now coming out with this Jong fee, and coming out that talks have started with Jong for Manchester United. So we'll get into that. Also, Pogba's left, so we need to dive into that as well. How would you rate Pogba's career at Manchester United? Is it been worth it? Are we happy he's gone? Are we sad he's gone? Get your comments in down below. And also stuff coming out about a new left back, potentially Tyrell Malacia is on the card, so we'll get into that. And also Kante still circling around in the news. So a lot to talk about. And first of all, let's get straight started with Jong news, because I feel like Jong is a player that everyone is really excited about. People are a little bit dubious about the fee that we have to pay for him, but it's come out this afternoon that Manchester United have opened talks with Barcelona regarding the purchase of Frenkie de Jong, with the Spanish club's financial constraints meaning the sale of the midfielder is valued at 85 million euros, which is around 72.4 million pounds, and it could force a move for de Jong. That is coming out of The Guardian. And we've also got another journalist coming out from Patrick Berger saying that MUFC and Barcelona are now in talks with Frenkie de Jong, and the price tag is around 80 million euros. So we've heard about this story for a few weeks now. We know that Ten Hag is adamant that he wants to get de Jong to Manchester United. We know that Manchester United want to get this deal done. I mean, especially with Pogba leaving now, we need midfield replacement. We need it badly. And we need to get deals moving. We really need to get these deals moving. But the price tag is something that we thought it would be around 65 million when we first went into it, but now it's looking like it's going to be more around 85 million euros, which again, 72.4 million pounds out of a budget that was rumoured to be around 120 million. I know we're going to sell players, but is that fee the right price, and is it something that Manchester United are going to do? I mean, The Guardian have also Sky Sports News have also come out and said that MUFC have held initial talks with Barcelona over the signing of Frenkie de Jong. He's one of a number of midfielders Manchester United are looking at. A deal is not close, as there would be significant obstacles to overcome, notably a fee and the will of a player. So good news is that we know the fee. Bad news is this player doesn't want to come to Manchester United right now, and he knows about Manchester United's interest, but we also don't want to pay the price. So there's two big factors here that could potentially stop this deal. And it's something that Manchester United really do need to decide quickly, because do we want to spend 85 million euros out of the budget on this player? It's someone Ten Hag really wants, and someone that will definitely improve our midfield and will definitely make an instant impact. But is the other positions that we need to fill, and we need to cut costs on certain positions, and this could be one that Manchester United can't get done, and if so, we need to move on. And Gabe Moore said, the fee's been agreed for a couple of weeks now. Could there be more bad news tomorrow? I mean, things don't often happen overnight, especially with Manchester United. It is only the start of the transfer window. It did only open today, and Manchester United aren't one to move quick, but on this deal, it is something, I agree with you there, it's something that we really need to confirm whether we can get Jong to Manchester United or not. Because if not, we need to move on to other targets, 100%. Geraldo Fares says, after what we have done to Van der Beek, I am not surprised. Exactly. And de Jong's going to talk to Van der Beek about what's happening. And if Ten Hag isn't successful at Manchester United, I know we all want him to be, are we going to be left with a player that might not suit the new manager, might not want to be here, is going to kick up a fuss? It's something that needs to be taken into consideration. I mean, obviously, Ten Hag has coached de Jong for 2 seasons at Ajax, and they won a title. They've got to the Champions League semi-finals. He is someone that has massively improved under the coaching of Ten Hag, and obviously ended up getting his big move to Barcelona. So there's two different sides of the story. There's de Jong, Barcelona, his dream club, which he stated recently, and he wants to be playing Champions League football, which, thanks to the squad that we've not managed to get this year. So he wouldn't be playing that in Manchester United. But there's also, can Ten Hag convince de Jong of this project? It's something that it would be really important in the deciding factor of whether de Jong does end up coming to Manchester United. Michael Roach here says, we shouldn't go for a player that doesn't want to come to the club. That I can potentially get on board with. If he wasn't a player like De Jong, who fits Ten Hag's system like a glove, is a massive improvement on our midfield players, I think would end up settling in and trying his best for the project from what I've seen through the attitude of this player. He doesn't strike me as the Di Maria type of player, he really doesn't. But like you said, we want players that'll die to wear the Manchester United shirt. It's what we've been saying on this channel for a long time. Is De Jong going to do that if he doesn't really want to come anyway? And Cameron McGrath says we need to sign a left back, centre mid, centre back. I don't see why we're looking at striker for in Núñez. Well, everyone's got different opinions about what Manchester United should be going for in the transfer market. I could agree with you that I think fullbacks are just as important as a striker, if not more, considering how poor we were from them positions this season and how poor our depth has been there. But obviously, we know that Ten Hag wants to sort out the spine of the team. He wants to get a striker in, he wants to get a midfielder in, and he wants to shore up the defence as well, obviously, in Jurriën Timber. So it's Ten Hag's decision what ends up happening. But obviously, the fee of De Jong is going to cut the transfer budget a lot. It really is. It's a big fee for a player. But you think about the other positions we need. I think if we get De Jong in midfield, you don't see us getting another midfielder, despite how badly we do want one and despite how much we need depth in midfield, massively need depth in midfield. And a lot of people, as I've seen in the comments now, saying we need a DM, we won't be able to get a DM. Ten Hag does play with 2 8s, so I don't see us signing a DM anyway. I don't see Manchester United going out and spending a lot of money on a particular centre defensive midfield such as Matic. He does like to play with 2 8s that push up and also defend in their own half. And he is going to want to go for a striker, potentially a winger and a centre-back, full-backs. These are all positions that we've seen coming as well. So are we going to really spend that much money on the midfield if we're already going to be spending 85 million on De Jong? I really do think that if we get De Jong, that's the midfield sorted. And get in the comments down below, would you be happy with that as your only signing for the midfield? Would you rather get 2 cheaper options in the midfield and have more strength in depth and have players that Ten Hag could develop? Would you rather go for Ruben Neves, which his price has already been touted to be around the 60 million mark, which would be, I think, ridiculous for him. So is 85 million the right fee that Manchester United should be paying for De Jong? And is it okay to bring a player here that doesn't particularly want to play for Manchester United right now? He does fit like a glove. He will fit Ten Hag's system, but is it right for Manchester United? Roche here says Ruben Neves and Tielemans instead of De Jong for 85 million. It is something that I know a lot of the chat would want to see. You get 2 midfielders there, and I know Tielemans is running out of contract as well, so you could probably get him at a lower fee. So that is something Premier League proven as well, something that you could look at that could definitely work when you're looking at how to manipulate the transfer fee. You've got Cameron McGrath. Conceding goals is a problem. We need to fix it, to be honest. I agree. I massively agree with that. But I'd come at you from a different angle there, and I'd say the fullbacks come from that. The defence comes from that. I agree that getting Timber in would definitely help that solution. But also the midfield we're currently playing in is so poor. Midfield's just walk through our midfield every single game. So you're not getting that defensive cover. You're having our centre-backs exposed constantly. And that is why the midfield massively needs improving. And getting a player like De Jong in, who can play next to another box-to-box midfielder and Ten Hag can coach them their roles and exactly how they want to play. De Jong already knows it could massively help the transition process and also help the defence next season, which is why, despite him not wanting to come and despite it being a high fee, I do think it is a good fit. He's a class player, especially with the likes of Pogba leaving, especially with the way that our midfield works at the moment and how poor a lot of our players are on the ball. He's someone that can come in and completely add something new. And also, guys, it would be the end of McFred, which would be a sad time for us all. I'm joking. It would be a great day because Frankie de Jong, if he comes to Manchester United, he plays every game under Ten Hag. He does. He comes into that team and Ten Hag plays him every single game. He's going to have someone next to him. Argue amongst yourselves who you think that would be. Potentially Fred. I've heard a lot of shouts for Fred, which could potentially work. But it will be the end of McFred because you won't see McTominay and Fred starting in that double pivot anymore because Frankie de Jong will definitely be first choice when you look at the options that we have. The filthy underdog here. I hope at the very least Paul's departure will prompt quicker activity in the transfer market. Not too confident though. I mean, I think they've known that Pogba's going for a while, so getting this out there now, they're just letting the fans know. They've known what's been happening, and I think it's another distraction. If you know what I mean, like distraction that we're probably not going to be doing any more transfer business this week. We'll probably just be looking at outgoings, which we'll get onto in a minute. And Noah Laberti says this theory of 2/8s and not needing a CDM is completely wrong. He plays a double pivot, yes, but he always has a defensive-minded beside a playmaker. Well, do you know what? From what I've seen with Ten Hag, he does like to play with two holding midfielders who do work as a unit. Yes, one of them will be more defensively, but you can have a player there that does that more defensive role. It doesn't have to be an out-and-out CDM. It doesn't have to be that. And we've got Slow Sorts News here saying, Beth, Frankie de Jong for 85 million is too much on one player. United need to play smart, go for someone cheap and someone who would actually want to be there. So got your opinions on that. And it seems like there is a mixed bag. Some people really want de Jong in because they know what he can do to improve this team. But other people want to start this new project on the fact that we want a player that's going to play for the club. And we also want a player that can allow us to spend a little bit more in the transfer window and fulfill more areas of our squad. But it'll be interesting. I definitely think that there'll be developments around Frankie de Jong, whether it'll get shut down quickly, whether we'll actually make the move and end up convincing Frankie de Jong. But it needs to happen quickly because Manchester United can't afford to spending the majority of this transfer window trying to convince Frankie de Jong and him eventually not going to a different club, which would be really disappointing for the board. And it's a waste of our time. But potentially it could be happening quite soon now that we've got a fee in place. And do you know what? Speaking of Dutch players and speaking of the Dutch league, which is where Frankie de Jong came from, Dutch sources say a deal for Feyenoord's Tyrell Masalia is very much on, and Manchester United and Ten Hag are working hard to get him. French club rumoured to also be in the race. And with Masalia, obviously Ten Hag's monitored him in the Dutch league, playing for Feyenoord, and he is a young player. My only query with this is you get de Jong in, you get Timber in, you've got Donny van de Beek coming back. We're going to be like the Dutch version of Wolves. It's going to be a lot of the same nationality in one team, which some people might not see as a problem, but the dressing room is going to be filled with a lot of Dutch. Is it going to create a clique? And are they all going to be good enough to be starting regular games at the top end of the Premier League? Obviously, Ajax is a great club and it has done well in the Champions League and it's produced very good talent. And the Dutch league, playing for Feyenoord, it's a good club, but is it good enough to step up to the Premier League? We know that French clubs are interested, and I think it's very much rumoured that that French club is Lyon. And is it worth going for another Dutch player, or shall we be looking maybe outside of the Dutch league for the fullback situation? Is it a problem for you? Get in the comments, because it is a lot of Dutch in one team if we get all of that nationality in. But I was thinking, is that really an issue? But I think could create a clique. Are they all going to be able to walk into the first team straight away? I'm not sure. I think Frankie de Jong is the one that I know would definitely be able to walk into that first team. Timber also looks like he's up to the level, but is Malacia going to be able to get straight in? I'm not sure. And if we're going for a fullback, I'd prefer it to be a right back, if I'm honest, because I feel like a right back is something that we're more in need of. We do have Shaw. He is injury prone, but right back wise, I don't really think we have anyone who is Manchester United first team standard, if I'm honest with you. There's potential there with Dalot, and it does seem Ten Hag likes him. So is it the right move for you? He won't be too expensive, and he is 22. So you think about if Tellez leaves, which we can all agree that he's not good enough, it's a young replacement that has longevity in it. And Luke Shaw's injury prone. He will competing with Luke Shaw, and Luke Shaw needs competition. We know that. And he's someone that could potentially displace Luke Shaw eventually. And so when you look at it in the sense of longevity, in the sense of building a team and building players that we can coach and building players we can adapt to the Premier League, it does make sense as a signing. But Can we afford to really go for another Dutch player in this transfer window? Do we need a bit more variety? And players who have played in different leagues as well that we know are going to be ready right now to walk in and play at the top end of the Premier League, because that's what the problem was with our squad last year. We've not had players in the starting 11 that are good enough to get through a whole season at the top level and compete. I know it's a building stage for Erik ten Hag, and I know he'll want players in that he trusts and he thinks can fulfill the role at Manchester United, and he can build a team around. He might think this about Tyrell Malacia. But to be honest with you, he's not one that particularly massively excites me. But there might be people in the comments that have watched every game that he's played this season that would be really excited about this type of player. So there's potential there. I would be happy for signing a fullback. But is it someone that is going to displace Shaw? I don't think it is. I really don't. But we'll have to wait and see, because there does seem to be quite a high interest around him. And he did make his debut for the Dutch national team in 2021. So he is highly thought of. He is a great young talent, and he is someone that could potentially end up starting in our first team and breaking his way through. He has that ability there, but is it perfect to go in with straight away? I'm not too sure, but make sure you get your comments in down below about that one. Alexander Swizak says, Tillerman's going to Arsenal, checked Leicester site. I'm not sure about the accuracy about that one, because I've not seen that anywhere, and I'm sure we would have had news about that, but potentially it is someone that they've been linked to. Why are we getting excited about a player that doesn't want to come? Di Maria all over again. The club is a joke. That is a lot of the opinion I've seen. I don't see that in Frenkie de Jong, but it's something that people do seem to be thinking about, and it's not something that you shouldn't think about as well, because it has happened to us time and time again. We've had to convince players to come to a project, and it's not ended up working out. They've been sat there on massive wages, a new manager comes in, and they're not part of the plan, and they don't seem to be fully committed to Manchester United. So it's definitely something that you should take into consideration. Savage says, we need a right back and not a left back. I agree. I'd prefer to get a right back any day of the week. Habby says, go on, Beth. Thank you very much. I appreciate the feedback. And I know, 20 quid, 20 quid, thank you. And do you know what? I'll be getting that after the show. I'm joking. But Kevin Mowry says, couldn't care who we're in for. Ten Hag wants them, just worried that we're taking way too long to get them over the line, and we should have one done. And also, member for 14 months, I'm not sure how you say the name, but Ajiro says, Beth, Shaw isn't good enough, very injury prone and inconsistent. And just to come back to them chats there, couldn't care who we're in for because Ten Hag wants them, worried that we're taking too long to get them over the line. That is something I can massively get on board with. At this moment in time, you look at when Manchester United have taken over transfer windows and not let managers have their say, we've ended up with a bunch of players that don't fit a system, that are individualised and don't seem to work out. We've done it time and time again. This new manager's come in, tracksuit manager, knows how to coach players. I might be sat here thinking, I don't want to get another Dutch player in on top of it. That's too many Dutch. It's going to be Portugal versus Netherlands in the Wolves versus Manchester United game. But if that's what Ten Hag wants, that is what you have to go and do. And you have to follow what the manager wants. And the last thing we want to be doing is having these options that Manchester United seem to have, but not being able to get any of them done. And you're going into the last month of the transfer window, like, what are we going to do? We've not got any of these players over the line. We've not got anything in place for Ten Hag. We need to see if a player wants to come. If we can't get them, move on. We've got to be organised, and we've got to make sure that Ten Hag has people in for the start of pre-season, in my opinion, 100%. Jai Pathak has said, controversial, but under Ten Hag, can we see McTominay in the double pivot and playing a box-to-box? I'm certain Ten Hag will improve him. Well, potentially. There's always a potential there, and it seems like Manchester United managers, every time they come in, McTominay survives and ends up playing. So I wouldn't be surprised about that, but personally, McTominay wouldn't be my first choice to play under Ten Hag. 100% he wouldn't be, but you never know, because each manager seems to really like him and seems to want to play him. So it's one of those. We always say McTominay's not good enough. McTominay shouldn't be starting in the first team, but every manager that's come in has started him and rated him and spoke very highly of him. So I won't be surprised that we've seen it. And I think we also spoke about on a previous show that Steve McLaren had come out and said that Scott McTominay puts in 8 out of 10 performances consistently every single game. So, we might have another McTominay fan in the dressing room. And if Ten Hag does choose to pick him, we've got to get behind that, because it might all be part of a plan that Ten Hag has been analysing and wants to complete. But to be honest with you, I don't see McTominay starting. But then again, you look at a Fred starting and you think he's not good with the ball at his feet. So that's why we need to invest into the midfield. And speaking of midfield, Paul Pogba has left Manchester United, and it has been announced today, and it's coming from Howard Nurse that quite a few MUFC announcements coming this afternoon, starting with Pogba's departure. And Pogba's put a little message out that I'll read out to you, because I think it just came out just before we were live, that I feel privileged to have played for this club, many beautiful moments and memories, but most importantly, an unconditional support from the fans. Thank you, Manchester United. So that's Paul Pogba's message to the fans. And with Pogba, I know Mark's already done a video on it, so I'll try and keep it short and sweet. But for me, I'm happy that this is the end of Pogba at Manchester United, and it is the end of Pogba. And the reason I'm happy about that is we wasn't getting the best out of him. Consistently injured for a lot of the season, most years. Hasn't played his best football in a Manchester United shirt, in my opinion. And he is a player that has caused problems for us over the years. And yes, there's going to be people saying we didn't build a team around him. Yes, there's going to be people saying we didn't get the right midfielders to complement him. And I agree with them statements. I agree we never got a defensive midfielder in to complement Pogba and suit his style of play. I agree that he didn't fit any position in the team, really. He was constantly moving from left wing to centre mid to cam to centre defensive mid. I mean, he's even played right wing. He even played false nine under Rangnick. He's played a lot of positions at Manchester United. He never had a fixed, consistent position, which can halt you in your development. But Paul Pogba was touted to come here and be one of the best Premier League midfielders that we've had. It's not happened. And for me, if you are the top end of a player technically and physically, you should be making an impact in most of your games, despite what's around you. 100% you could have got better out of him if you had better midfield options there, but he still should have been putting in better performances than what we got. We got a couple good performances, scored in the Europa League final to win us a trophy, to be fair, and we all talk about that City game, but apart from that, you can't really name consistent seasons where Pogba has produced time and time again and been the player that we expected. If he was coming off the bench now for a game, I wouldn't think, oh, we've got a better chance because Pogba could win us the game. There's always that moment of brilliance in him, but it seemed to fade, especially this season. He just seemed detached from the club, detached from playing for us, and it was a problem for us. And as well, his agent, who sadly is no longer with us, constantly coming up with these rumours that Pogba wants a new project, leaking every time he went on to international break. Pogba doesn't want to be here. Pogba wants to, Real Madrid's his dream club. All these type of things. It's not good for the morale of the dressing room. It's not good for the fans. And then you think, why are the fans annoyed at you? Because you're not being committed to the club that you're at. And he did get too much hate from the English media. He did get potentially we shouldn't be booing and chanting the things that we did at him at Old Trafford. Well, I didn't, but I know a lot of fans did. 100%, you've got to treat players with some sort of respect. But did he really treat the Man United fans with respect? In my opinion, not a lot of the time. And I was one of the biggest Pogba advocates. When he first came to the club, I was so excited. I thought this is the start of making Manchester United great again with a great player. I thought he would massively excel. When he didn't hit the ground running straight away and he did have them hiccups with Jose Mourinho, I was saying, I think we need to give him another season, get him players around him. I think he's got it in him. And there's only so many times you can do that with a player and still not see results. And it's hard to gain consistency when you are constantly injured. So I think it's the end of an era. It's the end of the old project. And Ten Hag needs players there that are committed to the club. And Pogba just simply wasn't committed. He just wasn't. But Pogba, we've put a tweet out about it on the United Stand Twitter. Rate his time at Manchester United out of 10 in the comments below, because I'm interested to see. I would rate it a 5, 6 being the average, as we always say on this channel. I don't even think he's hit really average, to be honest, because of the potential he had. That's what I would say. Because of the potential he had, We should have seen more out of him. And these players don't deserve respect. They have to earn it. I agree in the fact that they have to earn it, but also there is respect levels that you have to show. And is it right to be booing and constantly telling a player to F off at Old Trafford? I'm not sure. But again, he was disrespectful to the fans, so I can understand why people would. Beth, would you be happy with De Jong, Van der Beek, Fernandes midfield? Too leaky for me. I feel like you'd have to put a more defensive midfielder in next to De Jong, and Fernandes and Van der Beek would have to alternate, in my opinion. But we'll have to wait and see what Ten Hag wants to do. Someone says, so from Macbeth to Debeth, whatever tickles your fancy. And a lot of players, the majority I'm seeing is a lot of 4s, 3s, 6, 2.5. I mean, it's not great, is it? When you're looking at a player that's been here for, how long has he been here now? 6 years? 5 or 6 years? And you're looking at a player and you're saying 4 out of 10. It just shows it hasn't been successful. Hasn't been successful on United's part. Hasn't been successful on Pogba's part. The only thing I would say is it is indignant of the board that we let Pogba go on a free, spent 87 million to buy him back from Juventus, and then he's going back to the same club on a free again. They need to sort out the transfer business, and the fact we even offered that 400 grand a week contract is just crazy. We need to sort out our transfer business, and this needs to happen under the new regime as well, because you've either got players leaving on a free like Paul Pogba twice, taking the mick out of the club basically, or you've got players just completely outstaying the welcome on massive wages. For example, Martial, will you be able to shift him on the long contract and big wages you give him? They need to sort it out 100%. I mean, Sean Curry's give Pogba 10 out of 10. I don't think many will agree with you there, but his time hasn't been well received, I think, by a lot of fans. Obviously, a lot of fans love Pogba, and he had the potential, but I don't think he'll even reach the potential in his career. I wish him all the best, but I think it's sad to say, I think Pogba, going back to Juventus, is he really going to do big things there at 29? I don't think so. But obviously, I wish him all the best. And wages off the books. We've got constant rumours out of the club, and it's the start of the new project. And when you think about De Jong being a Pogba replacement in that sense, you can kind of get your head around the 85 million euros price tag in that sense, because 85 million euros for a replacement for Pogba, who we paid 87 million for, and a player that I think would definitely suit the system better. Are you making the right move there? I think it's something that Manchester United will see in that way. It's a replacement for Pogba, and he fits Ten Hag's system. So, yeah. He's won a World Cup. He has won a World Cup, but in club level, has he really reached his potential? No. He's won a Europa League, and did he win the Carabao Cup with us? I mean, yeah, Europa League and Carabao Cup. It's not good enough for a player of that ilk, in my opinion. But also the club didn't do enough around him. We didn't have the ambition that he had. We didn't. And the club has been poorly run for years. But still, you've got to kind of come back to the player. And did the player fully commit? I don't think so. Did the player get the best out of himself? I don't think so. So it's a sad one. It could have gone a lot better, but unfortunately it has happened like this, and I wish him all the best for the future, and I hope he does end up doing well. But at Juventus, it's not really a club that are on the rise, in my opinion. But we'll have to see what happens with him. And as well, like players like Jesse Lingard, could he be announced leaving soon? I mean, I hope so. These players that are just lingering around the club but have also spoken out saying they don't want to be at the club, we need to get them gone now and move on to the different projects. And I think that is what is starting to happen. When Howard Nurse says that it's the start of MUFC announcements, I see these announcements of being players leaving. Get Lingard out. He doesn't want to be here. He's taking up spaces on the bench for young players to come through. Get Pogba out. He doesn't want to be here. He's now gone. Respect for what he's done at Manchester United. They're not that much. Get the players out that we don't need filling up this squad with wages and the attitude that Ten Hag isn't going to want to be around at Manchester United. Anyway, moving on to a player that has played with Pogba and won a World Cup with him, as someone liked to come at me in the chat saying when I was kind of going in a little bit on Pogba's career, is N'Golo Kante. And the Telegraph are reporting on this again. N'Golo Kante stories coming out. At first, we thought it was just rumours. At first, we thought it was news because Kante wants a new contract at Chelsea, and it could definitely be that. But I'll read you out some quotes that have come out of the Telegraph article this afternoon. And United are adamant that they will not be held to ransom. There have been murmurings about N'Golo Kante, the 31-year-old French midfielder who, like his Chelsea teammate Jorginho, is entering the final 12 months of his contract. Kante's injury record aside, well-placed sources at Old Trafford have cited the example of Willian at Arsenal as evidence of the pitfalls of moving for high-profile players in their early 30s who are likely to demand high wages and long contracts. You've got it on screen there, the updates on N'Golo Kante coming from James Ducker at the Telegraph. I think I've spoken a little bit about this on this channel, but I don't think I've said 100% my thoughts, and make sure you get your thoughts in down below about whether you would want Kante or not. But I've heard news coming out that Ten Hag is really wants this player. He sees his mentality as being the correct fit. He sees him being someone who can instantly come in and improve the team. And on them notes, I say, I agree with you, Eric. I agree with you that Kante is definitely better than the ilk of midfielders we've got now, especially in the box-to-box defensive midfielder role. And he also has a winning mentality. He's won a Champions League. He's won two Premier Leagues with Leicester and with Chelsea. He's had a brilliant career, and he's won a World Cup with France. He is a player that has a winning mentality and knows what it takes to win. But what puts me off about N'Golo Kante is I don't want to fall into the habit of continuously going for clubs' leftovers, if that makes sense. And I feel bad calling Kante a leftover, but he's had his prime career at Chelsea. He has, and now he's still a good player, but he is on the decline. And some would say, well, declining Kante is better than what we've got. And it is, but I want to build our team around fresh, young players who are on the rise, who are going to get into the prime, who Ten Hag can coach for the future of this project and can be here for quite a few years. I don't want to bring someone in on big wages who's on the decline, who is, again, when he's in the final years of his contract, probably just going to be taking up space for players to come through. And it's just, to me, it stinks of something that we would have done under the old regime, where we would buy players because of the name and because they're proven in the Premier League and because they are going into the last year of the contract, older player. We've done that many times. But has it worked out and has it left us in a position where the club's rebuilt? It hasn't. It's like Cavani. He came in and he did well for his first season. I'm not comparing each two, but injury prone. Kante is also injury prone. And we're now in the position where we need to be looking at another striker because there was no longevity in that deal. And the same would happen again. I feel like the fact he's injury prone and the fact he is at the age he is, I'd rather get someone in younger and fresher who we can mould to how this Manchester United team is going to play and who can be Eric's player, not the Chelsea player that we've all known in the Premier League before. James McKenna says, why didn't we just get Kamara in January? Michael Aldred, welcome to the United Stand Members Club. Make sure you check out the videos on there because we've been posting loads of really good ones recently about different players that Manchester United are looking at. It's really worth a watch. And Pete Phillips says, Kante, De Jong, Bruno. And when you say that, it sounds brilliant. It really does. It sounds like a brilliant midfield. But how much longevity is in that midfield? Some would say it would get us potentially to win trophies or potentially competing to get top 4 next season, and would help us in our cup competitions. I agree. But do you want to go down that road again? It's a hard one because he is a good player. Stefan Tanokic, I hope I've said that right. Experience goes a long way when the player has ability. Experience does go a long way, and it does. And look at that Real Madrid team in the Champions League. They had so much experience and have so much experience, and they won a Champions League through working as a team and knowing how to game manage. Oh, they also had a brilliant manager. So you could look at it that way, experience is power. But for a new team that's hoping to rebuild in a current project and in a couple of years have Eric's team that he's built and is going to compete for stuff, is it the right move to be going for? I'm not convinced. I'd rather go for someone younger, if I'm honest with you. Schuster just reminded me we do have an $100 super chat saying, "Looking mint still," from Habby. Thank you. I appreciate it. You've made my day there, and I'll be getting onto the United stand about that one. Thank you for that. Um, Tchouaméni going Madrid, again, a young player that you would like to say too expensive. And that, when you think about players like that, you've got to cut your cloth accordingly. Is Kante the best we can get, considering we're not going to be able to get the players at the top range because clubs like Real Madrid, Liverpool, City are going to be going after them? It's something you've got to consider. Modric can do everything. His stability is insane, and he's at 37. Yeah, but he's always been at Real Madrid. No one's buying him like right now. And I also would say Modric is just different class in the way he's one of the best midfielders that I've seen personally. And he's still good now, I agree with you. RNS, Beth is right, we need to find the next Kante. Thank you for agreeing with me there. And that's what I mean. We really want a player who's our own. We want a player that we can mould and that becomes our player that when he's at 31, 32, potentially another club's looking to get. I just don't want to be doing this thing of taking players that Chelsea have had the prime out of and aren't going to be using anymore. Garner is a player that could potentially come back in, but it's not worth getting carried away over yet because we don't know whether Ten Hag is going to use him. We know he's going to evaluate him in pre-season, but is he going to use him? I don't think we need to take that into consideration when we look at transfers. We still need to build a team and not use Garner as a transfer. And someone says Kante now and younger midfielder in January. It's an option. It's an option that I'm sure a lot of people would like, but I'd rather just get the midfielder we want now and get someone that's going to work. But that's just my personal opinion. I know there's a lot of people as well in the chat of the United stand that have said that they think Kante could be a good option for us. So there is a split opinion on that just because of what he's done in the Premier League so far. But from what I've seen of him this season, he isn't the Kante of old, and that's only going to go downhill. But he is a class player, and he has been a class player. So let's see what Manchester United do on that. And as I said, it is about Ten Hag. It's about what Ten Hag wants. And if Ten Hag's the person pushing Kante, you've got to go with him on that, and you've got to back him, despite what you may think about it. You can say you disagree, but we've got to get behind what Ten Hag wants to do. And finally, just before we finish the show, I just wanted to kind of speak about what the transfers that are being linked to Manchester United means for our budget. And we've spoke about it many times. We can generate profit off players that we've got that are going to be leaving. And I think on the last show that I did, I think it was an afternoon show, we came up that if Manchester United did do the business efficiently, you could see 120 mil generated. You genuinely could from all the players that we've got that need to be sold. I think realistically could end up coming out with 70 instead of that. So that adds onto the transfer part. But looking at Timber and De Jong just as a two, that seem to be really advanced at the moment and players that we are really interested in and are players that Manchester United want to get done as quick as they can. Ajax have come out and said they want 45 to 50 million for Timber now, when I at first thought it was going to be 35 max. And we thought that De Jong was going to be 65 to 68. Now it's coming out that it's 85. You're looking at 120, 125 million already gone on two players, and you've not got a striker in, you've not filled your fullback position, and you're potentially looking at a winger as well and another midfielder. Would you spend that money on that? They are players that can fit straight into Ten Hag's system, but I wanted to kind of leave you with that note. Is it worth spending that amount of money? I think it is, because Ten Hag can coach him exactly how he's already done in the past. They won't need to catch up as much over pre-season. It brings, again, straight into the dressing room. You've got Timber, De Jong and Van der Beek who know Ten Hag, and it brings the dressing room, it stops the clicks, and it shows the other players how they should be training as well. So I think I would do it, but there's a lot of players that we need to, a lot of positions that we need to fill, and that's the only issue that I would put out there. Keel Robertson TV, we need the success to attract better players in the next window. Get in the oldies, get success, then buy the young. I'm not completely on board with that super chat, but you know what? If that's what you think would work, then I mean, that's what you do. But we've done that continuously as a club. We've bought older players, they've left. and we're still in the crap. Like, we're still not anywhere near good enough as what we need to be. So I don't think that would work. It's just the same thing we've done continuously. But honestly, guys, thank you so much. And again, we don't need quick fixes. That is what it's all about. We're not going for a title next season. We're not going to compete in the Champions League. We've got to rebuild this club, and we've got to look at the next couple of years when we will be competing. We need to build we need to build a squad for Ten Hag, for longevity, that can win in a couple of years. Next year is just about seeing a style of play and seeing us really kind of coming to our own as a team and know what we are doing on the football pitch, starting to know how to win, which this team doesn't know, starting to be less naive, having that in-game management, getting the players used to Ten Hag's system and instilling the system in them, getting the fitness up. That's what it's about, and potentially seeing youth players come through in the Europa League that can also be part of the squad coming up. We don't need a quick fix to win something next year, because I don't think any of us expect that. We really don't. We just want to see this club rebuild and get back to where it should be. And to do that, it doesn't take a year. There's no quick fixes. We need to do it over multiple transfer windows. So that's why it's really important that this one starts off on a good note. And that would be a really good note if we get Timber and De Jong in as soon as possible and get players out that we don't want to be here. So we started with Pogba. Let's hope that more come out towards the end of this week. But thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. I really appreciate all your comments, all the super chats as well. They don't go unnoticed, and hopefully I got to all of them today. Make sure you stick around for the 8 p.m. show, because as the news we had on the show, there is a lot more news coming out around MUFC this afternoon and throughout the week. Make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, and thank you for joining me today, and I will see you on the next one.